Welcome back, guys, to the Intel Extreme Masters Singapore, as we now have our second series on the way for you today, and it's going to be more of the creator of the universe, more NesTea, and he's going to be going up against Avenge, who was able to vanquish San 2-0 in the previous round.
Quite right. PVZ on the way here. A matchup that people are starting to feel like the Zergs are figuring it out. There was a little bit of wave of Protoss dominance in the early stages of, I guess, this patch. that's coming up here with the helped Oracle and that sort of thing, but not really a unit that we see much in PVZ. But you know, we looks like we might have to have a regame here. We just okay.
Well, that's fine by us, as NesTea and Avenge will regame in just a second here.
Yeah, let's talk about it some more.
I was alluding to the fact that NesTea may have defeated Avenge previously. However, I was wrong. My numbers were the wrong way around on my notes. So Avenge was able to defeat NesTea recently in the Red Bull Battlegrounds.
In a 2-1 series.
Yeah.
I didn't actually see that series, but I assume by the score it was reasonably close. So hopefully we see another 2-1 here. Obviously, I want more games. I want to always see a third game in a best of 3. More StarCraft's always good by me. And looks like we have the game, so let's get right into it, guys.
Yeah, we're going to be jumping in just a second. Polar Night is our first map between these guys. Ah, all right. So we don't actually have our observer in this game for some reason. So we are indeed going to regame. That was a little bit of a bizarre turn of events.
That was a little bit odd.
But there we go.
It was a little bit odd.
All right. So, indeed, my name is Kyle Aris, alongside someone who might not be familiar to some people. This is Maynard.
I am.
All the way from Australia.
Yeah, which is odd to say here because you're actually a lot further away from Singapore than I am.
You know what's really, really bizarre is the fact that I thought Australia was close to Singapore. Apparently it's not. Apparently it's like a really long flight for you guys.
It's not as long as, say, Shanghai, the last event that I casted at for Intel Extreme Masters, so I'm very appreciative of that. We got an updated bracket here. Yeah, it's about a 7-hour flight, but no big drama. I'm sure you guys had a little bit more rough of time than me.
Yeah.
You can see that NesTea did sort out Blisk in a 2-0 series. Saw a little bit of that from backstage. It looked pretty dominant for NesTea. Blisk held on a little bit in the first game. Second game, very NesTea dominant. And surprisingly, Avenge dealing with San here in the second game there at the top of the bracket. So San going down to the losers bracket already against Blisk, which is a bit surprising. I actually felt like San would get a little bit further in the winners bracket.
Yeah, San has some kind of ferocious PvP, but now going on to this for NesTea. The interesting thing for me about this open bracket is that 2 people are guaranteed to advance, and then the third place finisher from this open bracket faces the third place finisher from the other open bracket.
Yep.
See who advances on. Now, looking at this open bracket, I think NesTea is going to have a really, really tough time advancing on. With people like Avenge in there, San in there, Squirtle in there as well. These 3 Protoss players, if there were to be that third place player coming from this bracket, I think that these 3 Protoss players are in prime key position to do some major, major damage here.
Absolutely, and we have got a lot of Protoss in this open bracket, Colaris.
Oh, yeah.
8 Protoss, I believe, have arrived. That's over the 2 open brackets here. And unfortunately, my Terran brethren, not too much of a showing here. We do have Select, though. Got to meet him last night. Really nice, friendly chap. And really hope he does well. It's actually been a while since Select's gotten too far in a tournament, actually.
Yeah, he's got a very tough first game as well in that first open bracket against Curious, who we watched during Intel Extreme Masters qualifiers defeat Innovation, no less. So
yeah, well,
tall order.
God, I wish I could do
that. Noise is the perfect noise.
It's like, yeah, definitely. It's just imagining beating Innovation, like in my mind, I just try to picture myself beating Innovation. I can't even pretend, like I can't even come up with a fake scenario in my brain where in anywhere in the realm of physics do I ever beat Innovation in a game of StarCraft. But, you know, I can't even imagine what that feels like. It must be a really great boost to your confidence versus that race, basically, beating the, you know, arguably, well, not even that arguably, the best player of that race right now.
Yeah, he does very well for himself. But anyway, here, we are now loading up into game number 1 on Polar Night between Avenge and NesTea.
Yep. And third time's the charm, Colaris. I think we might be okay here. Observer is in the lobby. I spotted that, and here we go. All right.
I'm glad you spotted that, man. I really am. All right, spawning down to the south position as our red Protoss, representing Startail, he is Avenge.
That's right, there he is in the booth there. And in the north position of Polar Knight, we have got the winner of the last best of 3. Can he do it again? This is Intel, sorry, IEM NesTea. I'm in Intel mode. It is everywhere here.
It really is.
Oh yeah.
And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun doing these. Again, it's weird doing other tournaments as opposed to Intel Extreme Masters, because Intel Extreme Masters just goes everywhere, and we just do whatever we want. So
we're here in Singapore. The last stop was New York. No, Cologne for
League of Legends.
For League of Legends, but not for StarCraft. I think the last stop was in New York, and then Sao Paulo next in Brazil, which I don't think you guys have been to yet.
We, not in the, I don't think we did it in the last season. We did it in the season before, but I wasn't with ESL at the time, so I haven't been
definitely
to
went to Singapore last year in 2012. That was an amazing tournament, by the way.
It was good.
With Grubby in the finals versus Sting. That was so sick.
Yeah, I remember that all too well.
Oh yeah,
and everyone remembers me crying when, but, well, shed a tear at least. I was happy for Grubby when he was able to defeat MC.
That PvP went all the way to the 5th game, and I think it was like a Mass Phoenix battle from memory.
Yeah.
Really amazing, and that was on Metropolis as well. That's how long ago that was.
Yeah, that was a long time ago, man. A very long time ago. 1 year to the day, I pretty much think, because Cytex is just here every year, apparently.
Yeah. So hopefully we see Grubby do well again. He is a bit of a fan favorite. A lot of fans for Grubby at every Intel Extreme Masters. And what can we say about this game here? Looking very, very standard from both players. Gateway expand here on the way for Avenge. Putting it in a kind of a, in the main here, not worrying about walling off that natural. It's a bit of a task to do that, to say the least. And it looks like NesTea is just going to go for that hatch after the pull. So very, very safe play from both players.
Yeah, doing well to block that for quite a while there was Avenge, and making sure that that probe doesn't die off is super important, just so that he can, maybe dart back over there and try and spot that 3rd base as well. But from here on out, I'm very curious to see how Avenge is going to play this out. I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest if we saw, after the expansion going down, the focus on Stargate play, because right now, as a Protoss player, it really feels like that Stargate play against Zerg is the bread and butter of what you really want to do.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, at the beginning of Heart of the Swarm, it was actually only Stargate. Remember that back in the day when it was just, Airtos, the Golden Armada, as it was known. Being a bit of a spot of bother for the Zerg player, but these days, just going for that 1 Stargate, Phoenix harassment into Void Ray, that sort of thing, still goes very, very well with the Mothership Core coming along and Zealots as well. Can usually deny a 3rd or do a little bit of damage. It's good to see. And Mothership Core is out now for Avenge. Really just standard play from both players here.
I'm actually interested that the Mothership Core comes out that quickly, because for now, I mean, he doesn't really need it to do much. Maybe he sends it over there and gets a scout, or...
Well,
we'll see.
Maybe he started a little bit earlier. I mean, it's hard to say, but, as we saw in Game 1 versus Blisk, NesTea can get a little crazy.
He really can. So you do have to kind of caution yourselves against that. But again, that 100 gas that goes into the Mothership Core that quickly, I understand the Sentry's energy gas even, but that does slow down your ability to tech a bit, and this is why we're seeing it. We see a few gateways extra come down here, so, why would he need to tech when he's just adding on those few extra gateways? So this is his option for now.
Yep. So NesTea being very diligent here in the north of his natural, just scouting for proxies, looking for pylons. It is a cannonable area. 3 queens as well. Going to get that creep spread nice and early. And nearly spotted the probe of Avenge there. That was looking looking like he might want to set up an early forward pylon here.
And it's a really weirdly executed play. There's the 3 gateways if this is going to be some harassment. And with the robo facility behind this, how many sentries does he have out? He has 2 right now. Does he continue making? Because if he did, and then, there could be a Warp Prism attack here onto, say, attacking the ramp or something like that. Yeah,
when Warp Gate finishes, we're going to see what Avenge's plan is here. Halfway done with that robo. The probe has set up a pylon there just outside the 3rd, or not really the 3rd location, but sort of that southeastern base to the natural of NesTea here. So what is his plan, Kalaris? NesTea getting speed, droning up pretty heavily, getting up to, what is he up? He's up to 40 drones now, so up to 44 now. So taking a bit of a worker lead, pretty standard for this matchup. Avenge sending the Mothership Core out for a bit of a scout, bit of a poke here at the front of the natural, getting that creep spread on. The 3 queens out in sort of a very defensive position, and there's the Mothership Core heading in. And it looks like Immortal.
Yeah.
So
Well, yeah, we certainly know what's up.
Yeah, absolutely.
That first Immortal now on the way is going to follow this small harassment up with some Immortal Zealot attacks and, you know, just trying to do some damage there where he can. But aside from that, I always like what NesTea does with the amount of queens that he gets out, because he normally gets out to 6, then to transition onto the third base. And 6 queens against this does provide you a little bit more clout when it comes to that defense.
Yeah, you get a bit of that ranged attack, and the amount of lings that he's making right now is going to really keep him safe. Will keep the queens safe from the Immortals, I guess, because the Immortals do shred those queens to pieces. But like you said, Kalaris, they do have that extra clout. They do buffer and add that extra bit of DPS to the back, and can transfuse each other as well. So.
Well, Speed is about to finish. Infestation Pit so quickly here for NesTea.
So, Ling Infester.
The interesting thing about all of this is that NesTea just does not, where is his Roach Warren? Where, like, it doesn't exist is the problem.
Lings.
So, how is he going to be able to defend this with just Lings against, and he could just swap in Zealots.
And he's researching ranged attack without a Roach Warren or Roaches.
Okay, this could go badly for NesTea.
Yeah.
Avenge is setting himself up really nicely. The Immortals might not even be needed.
Yeah, absolutely. There's not that many Lings here for NesTea. He's falling back to 1 Spine Crawler, 4 Queens. It's a lot of Queens. But here we go. Avenge moving in with a bunch of Zealots. Looks like 6 sentries on the map with enough force fields to go around for everybody.
Oh. He's trying to get to swarm hosts. And actually, considering the fact that the Observer is going to take a while to get over there, it will buy him a little bit of time. And Zealot Immortal Sentry against a few swarm hosts sound like this isn't necessarily going to be able to do a whole lot. So if he buys time for these swarm hosts, NesTea could be all right, but he has to buy that time, which he is doing with these Zerglings.
Yeah, absolutely. The Zergling's going to put on a bit of pressure at the natural there. Avenge trying to go for a wraparound, and Immortal does not get... well, actually, he actually shreds those Lings to pieces. They didn't do much damage at all, didn't even get through the shields, and they are right up in front of these swarm hosts here. This Overseer is going to go down. Everything going down in the natural for NesTea right now. Force Field's keeping the Queens out of the battle. A lot of the Queens taking heavy damage from the Zealots at the front, and the sentries at the back largely untouched. The Observer is here, and there goes the swarm hosts.
Yeah, there's just not enough to tank for them, and they weren't in the numbers that he needed. He needed to buy more time than that to really try and make that transition work out. But the Immortals get right on top of them and deal with them perfectly.
And pulling the drones here, never a good sign for the Zerg to be pulling drones in the natural. No more Zealots here for those drones. They are getting a bit of a surround. Will this be enough for Avenge? Will NesTea hold here? And even if NesTea holds, Kalaris, is the damage done?
Well, we only have 1 swarm host, well, trying to hold against this. Where are the other ones? Where are they? I can't find them.
There was 2 in the natural there. The Observer has been picked off, and it looks like Avenge has been deflected.
The odd thing about all that was he brought the Observer back. It was heading back to the main, and then he had to bring it back to the front again. So those swarm hosts, through a miracle here for NesTea, bought themselves a little bit more time to do some damage and push that away.
And they actually haven't done extreme damage here. They've done damage, but not that much damage. The income is very similar for both players. The worker count very even as well.
They will try and tickle away at some more of these Zealots here, but for now, I think Avenge.
Yeah, whoa, easy.
He's not quite there yet. He needs to keep piling on the pressure, because against an opponent that only has 4 swarm hosts out right now, you need to make sure that you keep those numbers down. And he is doing, with the Warp Prism harassment, trying to draw him thin.
It's really hard to engage Locusts with just Zealots and Sentries, as we're seeing happen here. In the main, though, some Zealots getting dropped in there, just trying to do a bit of damage on those Queens. Looks like they might get 1 here. Actually, 1 more transfuse left. NesTea pulling drones again in the main. He's in a lot of trouble here. Well, not in that much trouble. He's deflected it, but just dealing with that infrastructure, this Warp Prism being very annoying for NesTea.
It's just so many Zealots, man. It's just so many Zealots everywhere.
Nearly got that Swarm Host there in the main. That would have been pretty bad for NesTea here. It can't really lose too much here, or he will be put behind.
This one Observer is just sat next to the Robo-Seal.
Yeah,
he
you're
wants
right.
to get over there and try and help this out, because there's no other Observer. It's just that one.
And I don't understand, man. He needs to have that Observer because he knows he's up against Swarm Host. He should have one with every army.
Yeah, it needs to get over there. I mean, he's still not doing too badly, I've got to say.
Yeah, the harassment, this Warp Prism has been very strong for Avenge. Definitely gotten what he wants out of it so far. I mean, he's still making Immortals. It's not transitioning yet out of Immortals just yet. He will soon, though, I feel.
It's been a bit of a bizarre game, really. I mean, it's kind of a standard setup in terms of where we got to with what Avenge is trying to put on, but the way in which NesTea is trying to deal with it, and then the way in which Avenge is trying to counteract that is a bit of an odd situation.
Yeah, definitely not going to see a third from Avenge just yet. I mean, he's starting to get up there with the bank, and he's been sitting on 2 base for quite a while here, just putting that pressure on NesTea. But, you know, NesTea's been on 2 base for quite a while as well, and as a Zerg, that's not such a good thing. We got to, yeah, it looks like another Warp Prism harassment in the main, warping in some Zealots with those Sentries here. They can force field that ramp, and they have. And again, the Swarm Host, no Observer. So, I mean, it's not going to be that much of a problem because one Swarm Host will not destroy this. And Avenge is doing amazing damage in the main, does get the spawning pool, and a lot of these drones, what are they going to do against all these Zealots?
Yeah, there's only that one Swarm Host, as you mentioned, and, you know, even if the Observer doesn't come there, but it is doing now, it's still quite easy to actually deal with that with these amount of units. Catches that, and there's
the Observer here, and all of a sudden, NesTea is defenseless in this main. The lair is almost certainly going to die. These drones in huge trouble, NesTea in huge trouble.
Yeah, this is tough for him. He's actually just moving into the middle of the map with a ton of his queens and trying to put on some pressure himself. But Avenge already realized that he couldn't stay in the middle of the map with a lot of his army with only one Observer out in the field. So recalled that back very, very quickly.
Yeah, and it looks like Avenge going to go with a counterattack here. It does have, looks like 7 Swarm Hosts out the front of that natural. Going to try and put some hurt on. Not much at home for Avenge to deal with this, but we'll have to see what NesTea can get done here.
Yeah, thankfully for Avenge, he did get the second queen out there. Sorry, the second Observer, but he has to be careful of the Overseer and the 4 queens, which are going to kill that, and that now shuts down that defense for a second.
In the natural of NesTea, he really wants to keep that Infestation Pit alive, getting those that Enduring Locust upgrade to get that extra range, be very, very handy for him. And it looks like Avenge starting to fight back these Locusts a little bit now with these 3 Immortals and with an Observer back home as well. Actually, it looks like the Observer might have been picked off by those Queens.
Yeah, NesTea just doesn't have enough to contend with this kind of weird base trade scenario we find ourselves in.
Yeah, it's not even really going to be a base trade here. It's clearly favoring Avenge right now. He's destroyed the Infestation Pit. No more Swarm Hosts for NesTea apart from this one. And GG. Avenge taking the first game there. The very solid PvZ from him.
It was kind of half a base trade versus half a tower defense, which Avenge was dealing with quite nicely.
I feel like Avenge played pretty stock standard there for a Protoss player. Nothing really amazing coming out of Avenge. But NesTea played a bit of a weird game. It was a little bit strange of a ZVP there from NesTea.
I think that this was a really cool strategy for Avenge to execute against a player like NesTea. Because again, in the previous series, we saw NesTea not really going for a Roach Warren too early at all, and just sticking on that very heavy Ling play. And this is something that NesTea's been known for a long time in general. So why not just deal with it like we were seeing that? The Immortals obviously do provide you that insurance policy. You know, you don't want to just go with just Zealots. And you see that tactic a lot on Polar Knight anyway from Protoss players.
Yeah, it's a very good 2-base map to put that. Well, actually, just to get the straight-up win on 2 bases on.
I'm kind of surprised that we weren't seeing NesTea having a little bit of anticipation for that, but you know,
it might just be his first game plan, man. It was the exact same build order that he used against Blitzkin game #1 in his first series. Trying to go pushing that Ling and Fester things, but I thought it was really strange that he got the ranged upgrade. Like, I still keep thinking about that, like they're getting that ranged upgrade on the Evo chamber when he had no ranged units apart from the Queens. I guess he wanted to get the Queens some upgrades, but...
Well, it gives it the Swarm Host as well, right? Like,
I guess. Oh yeah, of course, yeah, the Swarm Host.
But it's a little bit hit and miss, right? Because Avenge hit at a particular time where there just wasn't enough firepower. You know, you're committing to all of those Swarm Hosts. They're really not going to do a whole lot if you don't have the numbers. They're not good defensively, especially when you've got an opponent that's doing the Warp Prism harassment, and you send your Locust one way, the Warp Prism just dives in the back, and
unless your opponent forgets their Observers.
Unless that happens, and then a little bit of a bumble, but what can you do?
We're in game #2 here on Yonsu's, our second battlefield between these heavyweights. In the bottom left here from Team StarTale, this is Avenge.
And up to the top right-hand corner, we have our Blues, representing Incredible Miracle. He is NesTea.
Creator of the universe himself. Struggling to find a bit of form these days versus his glory days back in the 2011 GSL season when he was pretty much undefeated. He just wouldn't lose his EVZ. Wouldn't lose much at all, really.
No.
And it's actually, he seems like, what's the word? Stubborn to change his ways, I think, to adapt to the modern StarCraft 2. We can see that the gas cancel even a sign of sort of an old school thing that a lot of Koreans used to do, or still do actually, is the gas cancel. I think they figured it out that if you actually make an overlord on 9 drones, it's actually slightly more cost effective than that gas cancel. But they still do it anyway.
It's a force of habit, I guess.
Yeah.
But for now, we have, once again, Gateway in base for Avenge. So he's going to look to open up in a very, very similar way to game number 1, and then there are options there for him later on. The great thing about Yonsu for a Protoss player in general, though, is it is an extremely small map, and there is the ability to get over to your opponent's bases very quickly.
Another good game for 2-base.
Yeah, exactly. There's if we go over to the third of NesTea, and we look at the ramp that leads into that third for the assault of Avenge, then you can control that very nicely and then put on some pressure because it's so difficult to deal with when the force fields are placed rightly by a Protoss player.
Absolutely, man. Got the probe of Avenge here, stealing some minerals away from NesTeaville. A little bit annoying. So he didn't delay the hatch as much as he did in the last game, which is you know, probably the only difference so far, apart from NesTea doing this. Proxy hatchery in the natural of Avenge.
Oh, and Avenge, I don't think he's even spotted it, so he hasn't been quite as wary as Blisk has been. He's going to send a probe there now.
Yeah.
So spots it just a little bit later than we saw from Blisk.
That's right. Blisk was actually talking about that earlier before his game. He knew that this is a very, very real threat from NesTea. So not surprising to see Avenge sort of taken aback from this. I don't think NesTea pulled this out in their Red Bull series.
I can't recall the games completely.
Yeah, I'm struggling to remember as well. It might have been, I think I actually might have missed that series because being an Australian and all, it was a little bit tough to watch the Red Bull Battleground.
I can imagine watching anything is a bit tough when you're on.
Well, GSL's on.
You got
we
GSL.
get to sit down, have some dinner and watch GSL, not like staying up till 5 AM like the US people have to do, so hearts out to them.
Yeah, that was the weirdest thing when I was in China and I was watching GSL. It was like 4 PM in the afternoon. I'm like, wait, what's going on? This is really strange. It's supposed to be on in the morning. So that was a strange phenomenon, but as you can see here, Avenge.
Oh, NesTea actually cancelling that and not letting it go for a little bit longer there. So
yeah. The thing is, with 2 Zealots and a Mothership Core whacking away at it,
oh,
you
it's
can't
never
really
going to go up, but you can leave it building, I guess.
Yeah, it's like you don't really get too much out of it. If it's left uncontested, then maybe you can get a Queen out, build that, maybe a Queen Rumor at the back, but that's a big investment in the end. Big investment.
Yeah, it is, absolutely. I mean, if that hatchery finishes, it's actually devastating for the Protoss players. Like, kind of really hard to deal with.
All right, well, speed's on the way here for NesTea. Few lings, actually, a few more lings than I was expecting for a second, up until the point where I realized that there was, once again, the opportunity for Avenge, in a similar way to what we saw Blisk could have done, to actually put on some pressure with those earlier units. Needs to make sure that he's well defended and stable against that.
Yep. And like your stock standard PvZ, we have got a Stargate on the way in the back of the minerals in the main of Avenge here. So he will target units pretty shortly. NesTea, obviously, as mentioned by Kalaris, a lot of lings on the map, which is good for him. Got to take some map control away from the Protoss. Meanwhile, Avenge won't be able to move out for a little while here. And this Overlord is very safely going to be able to have a look at this wall. Gets a very good glean. And, yep, 1 sentry will not be able to kill that. So.
Let's see, the Stargate that he's placed down is, I was going to say, it's very, very well defended in terms of vision. However, NesTea's done a very good job of sneaking around the back. Yeah, he's actually going to see it right now. Yeah.
Overlord moving into the main here. Very nice play from NesTea. Does see that Phoenix will be the first constructed unit out of the Stargate, which is very standard. He probably would have guessed it much anyway. Yeah. And Avenge setting up here to deny that 3rd hatchery there from NesTea. Nice play from both players so far.
Avenge has found a sneaky pylon behind that 3rd base. So might be able to do something with that once that completely finishes up. For now, those Phoenix are just on the way. Now, how much damage is NesTea going to allow to be done with this? He's continuously building his Queens once again to transition over to the 6 once he gets that 3rd up and running.
Yeah. Few lings killed there by some nice force fields from Avenge, just catching a few there. A lot of the lings of NesTea are still alive though, so not as good as he would have wanted. And what's his plan here? He's just going to warp in some Zealots, I feel. No Forge yet.
Sneak around with these ones as well to rendezvous with some that he would warp in. It could work out quite nicely. I mean, how many lings do we have out on the field? We have 15 right now against
and they're out of
Zealots.
position as well. They're completely out of position. They're up by the natural of Avenge, and meanwhile these 3 Zealots here probably just going to wait for another warp in, maybe some more drones.
If he were to get this 3rd base somehow, I don't think he will because there are Queens there to support it.
Yeah, 3
that's
Queens.
A lot of Zealots.
Yeah, actually that's, wow, that's 9 Zealots here with the Mothership Core. This might actually be a dead 3rd Kalar, especially with these Phoenixes to lift up Queens.
He's going to have to find some way to really deal with this very quickly.
NesTea's pulling everything back position. He reacted to this immediately. There's 5 Queens here, 2 Transfuses by the looks of it, and Time Warp's going down. Will NesTea be able to hold here? The Mothership core does go down, and Avenge, will he get the job done with just these Zealots? Warping in a couple more at the back, 3 more at the back. One queen being picked up, 2 queens picked up. I think this hatch might go down.
Too many Zealots.
Yeah.
Using the Phoenix in tandem with the Zealots as well to negate damage, not try and do some damage elsewhere.
In fact, the Natural in huge trouble as well, with drones being pulled, Lings being pulled, and there is still 9 drones in this Natural. Well, the 9 Zealots in the Natural, they're starting to die now.
It's too much.
They've just killed so much already.
It's just too much, you're right. I mean, that third going down alone is fantastic. How many workers did he get? He only got 2 workers, but he got a lot of queens during all of that as well.
Lings as well. Yeah, the Lings that they hatched, they died immediately from Zealot sideways to the face, which is a condition that a Ling does suffer from time to time. These Phoenixes taking out Overlords as well, just salting the wounds for NesTea.
Yeah, this is tough for NesTea at this point, as he has to flee away. The Phoenix numbers were still rising. And look at this Avenge, he takes the advantage. He says, well, I know that I've done a lot of damage to you. I'm going to go double forge and double upgrades.
Absolutely, man. And he can. He's got the world is his oyster right now, or at least Yonsu is.
Yeah,
he's in a really good spot. So these Phoenixes, I mean, how does NesTea get the map back from Avenge now? With these Phoenixes on the field, with just these Lings getting shredded by Zealot Warpins?
He's going to have to find a way to claim another third base. I think that at this point, NesTea is behind to the point where he has to either do some crazy wacky all-in or expand to his third and his fourth at the same time and somehow try and catch up very aggressively economically. But that's going to be difficult itself because Avenge isn't going to give him too much room.
Avenge only has that 1 proxy pylon, so he might get away with sort of that southern third. But yeah, this top third is going to be really tough for him. It does look like he is going to finally get that pylon away from Avenge here. But Avenge still has those Phoenixes. He still has map vision. He's actually breaking 3 off from his pack here to sit on top of that base, and he will see that third here. I actually love this from Avenge, just sending units out and making them as useful as possible. Now that he's running out of things to snipe, getting that nice scout here. NesTea going for a counterattack with Lings, but there are a lot of sentries and Zealots here, and I don't think they're going to be able to get the job done.
It's like, Leia is morphing in as Robo Bay is already finished. So,
no doubt.
Yeah, it's not going to be too easy here for NesTea to really get things completely up and running. As the Phoenix, I mean, they're just controlling the skies. They're going to look around for anything. If they can catch a single Overlord at any given time, that's a great pickup for him here. Once he just builds Colossus Void Ray and even claims a third base, he can do whatever he wants.
NesTea getting on top of his upgrades here. So he will be ahead. I think upgrades is the only thing that NesTea is ahead in right now. He's going to have a look at the unit count. He's actually 49, yeah, as I feared. 55 probes versus 49 workers of NesTea here. But not a good sign for the Zerg at this point of the game.
Even the upgrade lead might not last for too long.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of splash damage coming here for Avenge with those Colossus coming out. NesTea's trying to get an Infestation pit up, so probably going to go for Swarm Hosts again. Or Infested. Actually, with the 2-2 upgrades on the melee, I'm feeling Ling Infestor here is the plan from NesTea. A Queen being picked off here by Avenge.
Yeah, I mean, he might try and stall out the mid game with Swarm Host, but I'm really not feeling it either, man. It will be so
Pathogen glance
bizarre.
there, so it's confirmed to be Infestors here.
Yeah, there we go.
So, I mean, Ling Infestor's great, but not when you're in this position. You've been hammered by the Protoss all game long. In fact, going to lose a huge cluster of Lings here. Great force fields from Avenge. Oh my god.
Very, very nicely done. Any little bits of damage that he can get off there against NesTea. I mean, NesTea's clutching at straws at this point. What are you going to do against this? He needs kind of like the Spire as well to deal with these Colossi numbers.
He has 5 Lings on the map, man. That's his army.
Not good. Not good.
He's making 6 Infestors now, but that is his army. And now he has no Lings. So, yeah, NesTea now making 12 Lings and 7 Infestors, and when that pops, that's his army, but he doesn't have one right now.
And another big problem here for him is once those Infestors come out, unless he lands a good fungal growth on those Phoenix, then the Phoenix will start negating the Infestors. He sees the Infestation pit, he knows it's there, he's just going to push up and pick up a lot of those Infestors once the engagement comes.
Avenge isn't afraid of anything right now. He knows that he's in an amazing position, and his army pretty much destroys anything that NesTea can make for him right now.
Those Infestors have to be absolute heroes. Somehow come in from a lot of angles.
They're going to have the sickest fungals in the history of StarCraft to deal with this, man. And it comes a little bit of a flank here. Some Queens from the right. Not too much damage there. The Zealots deal with that pretty easily. Infestors from the north being picked up by the Phoenixes and being taken out pretty handily here. And it's looking like Avenge is in a really good spot here to take this second game and the series from NesTea.
A lot of Zerglings in production, but I don't think it's going to be enough. There you go. GG. Game number 2 goes to Avenge.
Wow.
A very quick dispatch there.
That was actually very dominant series from Avenge. That didn't even look close, to be honest. Very nicely done.
Play. And this is kind of what I was fearing for NesTea going into this open bracket, man.
Yeah.
I hate to be a NesTea doubter, But
well, he is the universe creative.
Yeah.
You don't want to really doubt that guy. I mean,
it's going to be a hard road for him. He now falls down to the lower bracket, but you know, there's going to be one of those power Protosses in there. There's going to be either, well, there already is San.
Well, San and Blisk down there, and
Yeah.
I mean, he can beat Blisk obviously, but I don't think you know. I guess if I was a betting man, I would bet that San probably going to do okay versus Blisk. So, and San's PvZ is one of the best in the world right now. So, yeah. Would love to see NesTea continue on, but it's going to be rough for him, absolutely, in that losers bracket.
It really is. I'm looking if we have any updates on any results.
Looks like Squirtle did beat Pig in a 2-0 series.
Yeah.
It's a little bit unfortunate for C fans.
And then the winner of San versus Blisk will face NesTea down there.
Yep.
So if Blisk was able to somehow defeat San, I would be, 1, very impressed, and then 2, kind of sorry for him if he has to play NesTea again.
Well, Blisk might go Super Saiyan, man. You never know.
He may.
It's the magic of StarCraft is that any player at any time can just kick in a Super Saiyan. It's just really crazy. It's like just to talk about Grubby again from Singapore last year. He just, you know, amazingly did really well after having a bit of a rough start and just fighting back and clawing his way up to that grand final.
Very well indeed. I think though that what we see here in the second iteration of the Intel Extreme Masters Singapore from our previous season is a extremely strong lineup. I mean,
oh God, yeah.
Singapore last year didn't really have the strongest of lineups.
It's true.
But this year, oh boy, very, very strong players.
Absolutely. So looks like we're going to be taking a little bit of a break here before our next best of 3. So guys, please don't go away. I'm Maynard. With me is Kalaris. You are watching the Intel Extreme Masters in Singapore, and we'll see you very soon.